So this is the Ohio Writers Guild. So welcome everyone. And my name is Kathy Benner. I am a passive income coach, and one of my lanes of passive income is the Ohio Writers Guild on how to write from anywhere in the world. And it is a beautiful opportunity because you can be anywhere. It's so wonderful. For those of you that know me, know that I'm right outside of Columbus, Ohio in Canal Winchester. But about 2 years ago, well, actually 5 years ago, we bought a little single wide over in Zephyr Hills, and we came back and forth from Columbus to Zephyr Hills for about 3 years. Then I sold that, and we have now bought a condo in just above Sarasota, between Sarasota and Bradenton. And so now we've been coming here for 2 years. And so a total of 5 years back and forth. I can't believe it's been 5 years already, back and forth from Columbus to the Florida area. And we just simply come every 6 weeks. And I keep telling Mark, we're not on vacation. This is a lifestyle. This is not a vacation, it's a lifestyle. And so I can do my calls because I have created the International Academy. And in my 8 lanes, I have everything from writing to podcasting to blogging and even real estate. And in the real estate, because it's all about passive income. So in the real estate, it's long-term rentals, short-term rentals. And just recently, I've added my first midterm rental, and I'm loving life because that can happen from anywhere in the world. I don't have to be there. I just have to have a team in my back pocket. I do not have any employees. Everyone that is on my team is an independent contractor. And so I have the opportunity to use them over and over again, or not. If it's something that doesn't work out quite right, then I simply can move on to a different independent contractor, and I can keep perfecting my team until I have a group that fits together perfectly for me. And so that's kind of what I do. And so once I started each of my lanes, I decided that I needed to have a co-host or co-mod. Because again, I get boring listening to myself all the time. So I needed a co-host or a co-mod. And so I chose Sandy and sent the invitation out to Sandy to be my co-host, co-mod. And she hesitated at first, I could tell. And then she said, okay. And it's been a wonderful team. So again, I want to thank Sandy for saying yes and being my co-host and co-mod. And just recently, we had our annual holiday party, and I got to meet Sandy face to face, and we met in person, and it was a wonderful meeting. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sandy for just a moment to introduce herself and to tell you what she brings to the table. And she has already posted in the group in the chat. So if you scroll up in the chat, you'll see her post, and I'm going to let her tell you about it. So go ahead, Sandy.
Hi there. Somewhere around 2018, I had a friend who wanted to direct a writer's workshop in Yellow Springs. For over 33 years, Yellow Springs had a workshop called the Antioch Writers Workshop. And it was all day long for about a week. And then sad things happened, and they fell apart or ended. And so my friend wanted to take advantage of that opening and started something called Retreat to the Springs. And she asked me if I could help. I said, sure. That was 2018. 2019, she goes, you know what? We planned it all together, but she couldn't make it. So I took over at the last minute. And then after that, she goes, you know what? If you want it, you can have it. And I didn't say no. Why not? This sounds like something great to be able to meet authors and writers every year and direct a curriculum. I come from the teaching era. You will see that because it'll creep in when I least expect it, but there it is. So set up an agenda, set up a workshop. What do writers want? What do they need at this point in their writing careers? And what if those careers are at the very beginning, just aspiring, or multi-published? So I reworded things, called it Into the Springs. And then after my first year in 2021, I moved it from a community center in Yellow Springs to the heart of town, which is the Mills Park Hotel. And they have been wonderful, especially when the two owners are ex-teachers. Once upon a time, there were band directors, the best kind of high school teachers ever, except for English teachers, which is what I was. And together almost, we have developed this. They told me, it's your hotel for the whole weekend. And brother and sister, I have taken advantage. So this coming year, I have two amazing people. One is Jane Friedman, and I'll pop her contact in there, but it's www.janefriedman.com. And she has been in the publishing business since the 1990s. And she's followed it from hardcover to digital. And she is the expert you go to. If you look her up, again, I'll put her in there, look her up, follow her free newsletter. And if you want to advance into her paid newsletter, that's worth it too. I've courted her for the whole weekend. She's going to be looking at whether you should continue or change to traditional or indie publishing. What can you do to your website to really get it out there? What are the trends? What's in marketing in the book and writing world? She's all about the business of writing. She has books under her name too, but really about the business. And to be with them, both of my featured guests, all the guests always stay with us the whole weekend. So whether you see them during lunch, I provide, the hotel provides the food during lunch. There'll be fruit trays and cheese trays, so you don't have to leave the room, but there is a 2-hour break on Saturday and evenings, so you can see the amazing and thrilling, actually, town of Yellow Springs. So the other one, my other featured guest is Jason Sanford. He's widely known as a science fiction and fantasy author. One year, a British magazine called Inner Zone dedicated a whole issue of their magazine to his short stories. So he's coming out of short stories, writing. He's advanced on to novels too. His first novel came up not too long ago. And in the Science Fiction Fantasy Writers of America, they give the Nebula Awards, and he was a 4-time finalist for a Nebula. And in the other science fiction World Fantasy Con, they give out the Hugo Awards, and he's been a 2-time finalist there. He knows his stuff. He knows about writing tips, and something called a Patreon, in which you can make a little money by offering your supporters who pay so much, subscribe to you at so much a month for pieces of short stories and whatever else is going on. So I've got a great lineup. I've got a great location. It's coming up this August 4th and 6th. So again, hope you'll check it out. That'd be wonderful. Thanks.
Perfect. It's at the Mills Park Hotel in Yellow Springs, Ohio. So for those of you that are coming just from Ohio, make a note of that and check it out. So yes, we'd love to see you there. So thank you so much for that, Sandy. Now we are going to talk about April. April, thank you so much. So here's the truth. 98% of business owners want to write a book, but over half of them run out of time. And 99% of people who have a story never write their book. Why? Well, because they have fear, pain, or they tell themselves lies like, who cares about my story? Are you stuck in that trap? Okay. How many of you in the audience, let us know in the chat over here, how many of you are actually published or would like to be published? Let us know if you already are or if you would like to be. So here is the deal. If you just would think, if I had a writing coach, an accountability partner, or a ghostwriter, then I could get my message out to the world. Well, you're in the right spot, because April Tribe Giauque, owner of Beacon of Light Writing Service, is your guide to amplify your story to the world. And so that is how I know April, is through her writing. And if you visit her on Facebook, you'll see her lovely face. She's always doing lives. And I haven't, I'm on Zoom calls all the time. And so I'm okay with being in front of the camera. I just haven't done very many lives. So when I look at her, doing all the lives, I'm like, I need to step up my game a little bit. Yeah, I need to get out there and do that. So April, I would like for you to tell us a little bit about your journey before you wrote your first book. What was your journey leading up to that? Because what I've discovered is oftentimes we are now in a coaching or a teaching position where we're trying to help an earlier version of ourselves. And so I'm wondering if April kind of felt some of these things early on, and that's why she's so connected to how we feel trying to get our story out. So April, tell us your journey.
Okay, so thank you, first of all, for everyone being here, and thank you for the invitation, Kathy. This is wonderful. So for myself, my little journey, my hands will be signing because this is part of the journey. So I don't know if anyone is deaf here or not, but that's okay. They just talk when the camera goes on. I am so trained. This is just what happens. So for myself, the journey that I was on is I'm a mom. I'm a mother of 9 children. I have a lot of children with different sets of special needs. I have a lot of kids with autism. I have 2 kids that are deaf. That's why we sign. And so the whole concept about helping and, being a part of someone's life is just a part of how everyday works. Well, within that everyday life, there is a story. And within the story, we know that a lot of people want to express themselves. And so we'll give like a short example. My first 3 boys, all on the autism spectrum, all different varieties of how to communicate. And yet they still wanted to share something, and they still had a story to talk about. And for myself, it was like unlocking the door and figuring out a way that the communication could happen. Once that opened up the teaching, right? So I smiled over there with the ill teaching. So I am a special education teacher, and we teach everything that you could possibly think of, from writing, reading, math, transition skills, cooking, anything to do with a social skill, and added to it so they can get out into the community and work and be really as independent as their abilities allow them. Well, what does all this have to do with the writing? I've heard you talk about story, and then I've mentioned the word story. That's how we as humanity connect together. And you usually don't remember much about facts through the day, but you'd usually remember the emotion and the connection that happened with a story. And generally, when anyone comes home, how was your day? What happened? Well, that's your opening line for the story to spill out, right? And you probably have fantastic storytellers that can just capture it. And you probably have your teenagers, fine, nothing, all done. The one-liners that come back, you're like, we're going to expand on that just a wee bit. So, it's that whole concept. Well, in that, I too had a story, and there were so many stories prior to, we'll say, the story, which you can kind of see behind me here and over here, as a matter of fact. The whole concept of the connection of, we want to know, we want to discover, we want to learn and be inspired. We want to know, how did they figure it out? We just get sucked into how things really work. And that is our humanity. That is part of survival. And I feel like great storytellers, they were the ones that get into the pack and they really get to stay there, right? And they might not be as skilled at weaving the blanket or cooking the meal, but when it's time for story, they're all in, and it brings the pack, the group together, right? Okay, there's some history for you. But that whole concept is that within ourselves, the story wants to, share out. And so what I now help a lot of people do is, yes, we do help with the publishing, and yes, we do help with some of those questions that they have, but really it's, how do we expand and share the story? I have people from business owners that approach me, and a lot of it has to do with facts and this and that, which is great. But I always tell them, I am happy you have an amazing system. No one's going to remember it. Sorry. Unless it's connected to something emotionally that they'll go, I know those 5 steps by heart because that was my life. Oh no. Right. And then off they go. And it can be anywhere from business to fiction to religious to all of it, and children's stories. The concept is, what can you paint? What can bring you in? And then how can we clean it up, right? English teacher over there, what can we do to really bring this in because I know what you're trying to say, but your reader isn't feeling it.
Mhm.
What do you want to tell the reader? They're your audience, captive right there, one to one. What are you going to share with them? And that really narrows things down, clears the path, and we see a lot of great things happen from there. So I think from learning of how these stories wanted to be expressed through my children and knowing the story that I want to finally express, it all kind of comes about. And now as the coaching and everything, comes forward, we want that. And so that's kind of how my journey started.
I love that. One of the things that I've often wondered when I read about you and I look at your website, what motivated you to write your first book, and give us some of the steps and let us know how did you know when you were ready to write that first book? That's where a lot of the folks that I talk to, they always go, well, someday I really want to write a book, and it's always someday, or someday I'm going to write a book, or they have a lot of family that tells them you need to write a book because of your story. So what motivated you, and when did you know you were ready?
So for myself, it was definitely some spiritual awakening, prompting to know, like, oh, maybe this could really help somebody else. But it was a kind of a combination of, it was the timing on sharing was right. We had moved, and just as a little bit of a background, I did write my memoir from escaping my first marriage, which is why it's called Pinpoints of Light, Escaping the Abyss of Abuse. So we were in a safe place, first off, highly recommended. If you're going to, talk about anything that has to do with abuse and anything like that, you really want to make sure that you are in a space that you can understand what you have to say. And you're not going to be at this perfect place, but you do need to have some type of, you've already weathered some storms, emotional storms, that as you open things up again, skeletons back in the closet, you can feel the intensity of things without having the breakdown. So there's my one little warning. You got to be ready. And so it takes time with that. I had been out of the relationship for 12 years. So, of course, I had written many different pieces and sections and journals and stuff. So I always constantly encourage to put things down. So I'm going to veer off for just a second, but there's 4 areas that are really important. And the first one is your victim story. It's just the first, I always call it the then story. Then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. You got to get it all out. Every stitch of it. And it's 180,000 words. And that's totally fine. Okay, I'm kind of joking, but I'm not. Because by the time you piece everything together, it's probably going to be that much. And I'm here to tell you that is step number 1. That victim story needs to be put there, because then it's no longer swimming here and painting here. It's out. Then your mind's a little more sane about life, and you can think, okay, suddenly you start to feel a fire underneath you, which is the next step, which is a survival story that happens. Like, I made it through this and I made it through that. And you have this energy that just starts to, you can see yourself deleting out certain pieces, and you focus in on the survival, which becomes an incredible identity and power, right? I made it through. I made it through. Now, I haven't mentioned anything about the reader yet, and that's for a very big purpose, because if you handed anyone your victim story, your poor readers would be bleeding to death. They would have no inspiration and no hope. They'd be like, life's over. And then your survival stories, more readers can kind of handle that. But at the end, they're kind of like, that's it. Which is not what a survivor wants to hear, because they're like, I'm sorry, you missed this paragraph. It was right here. And so they'll miss it. Your third step is definitely where we get into the thriving stories. So a thriver's story can take pieces of the victim, can understand the passion of survival, and give people hope through the thriving. Now readers are in. A lot of books are in that survival stage, if I can say that. It's that whole concept of things really coming together. And they're great. And that's a piece that can come forward. But finally, if you can become a victor of your story, That means you can do a 30,000-foot view. You can pull all those pieces at the right punch. You really craft a story that doesn't have to chronologically then. You can pull back, you can backflash, you can pull forward, you can add somebody there that's, a whisper or something. And there's pieces that can really craft story that's still yours. And at the end, the person isn't just only left with hope. They then are like, you got to read this. I know that you're in this situation. You've got to read it. They pass forward because they know, oh my gosh, there really is so much more after that. So those are really stories about surviving and abuse and such like that. But if you think about it, a hero's journey goes along something very similar. And I really appreciate business books that have hero's journeys, religious books that have that hero's journey, that concept of, because our whole life is this, right? We step out the door, we meet someone, they take us into a place and a zone where we didn't know anything before. Now we've learned a lot. Oh, dang, we're at the bottom. This is kind of deep. And then, trying to swim out. And at the end, the wisdom, and I purposefully say the wisdom that happens when stories are well said, it's beyond just something to sell. There is that deep connection, and sales happen because they're like, you've got to read this. And so it's a whole variety of things. And I probably have really veered off the question, and I apologize for that.
This is perfect. No, please. This is perfect, April.
So that's that piece that really comes together. So you want to start the writing. You have to build yourself, your library, your shopping center, whatever it is that you can connect with. And that's kind of that first set that happens. The then story, the victim story, whatever it is, it's that first set. And it is a piece of everything that happens. It is nothing to be thrown out. Yes, you will be deleting things from it. But if it's not there, then you can't take it away. So you've got to get things there. Get it out of here and out of here so that you can examine it like a great director. Think about you directing, what your reader wants to experience. Well, this takes time. I'm definitely a big component on time, on making and allowing for things to happen and start for us. So get started, just start. Napkins, journals, put it in the docs. This is not your final thing. So don't ever think of the word perfection, ever. That's a done. Nope, it's not in the category.
Yeah.
Because that's not what a story is. A story is not perfection. The emotional connection you make, that's the perfection. That's what comes. So you get started. And then as you wield through, you might whittle things really down to something else. But don't ever think you're starting again. You're not. You have gained so much. You have learned beyond what you thought were failures. They're not. They were just places to clean up. I love to think about a pantry, a well-stocked pantry. The world's yours, right? You can open it up, but you have to put everything on that shelf. You have to get it out of here and here and put it out there. And then ooh, that fear right there that happened when I was whenever, that bottle is going in my villain. And that fear that I felt, oh, I want my readers to feel that when they read about him. Oh, I'm so creeped out. Ooh, I'm so glad I had that on the shelf. Or, if you're a big shopper, building out the perfect outfit with all the accessories, whatever it is, right? You've got to get it out there, get them organized. And it doesn't mean every stitch that's on the pantry shelf or that's hanging in the closet is going in your book. It could go in another, could be part of some blogs. Whatever it is, you have a wealth of knowledge there. So don't narrow yourself in or box yourself into a spot. No, all of this is for a reason. And I love to think that you will find God's reason within your writing, but you need to start. So that's the contractual piece. You are the one to get things started, and you never look at it as like, oh, this is awful. Oh, this is terrible. Like, there it is. All right, well, I guess it goes on that shelf. We'll see what happens when that comes around again. And you have just a wealth of just fun. This makes it so much fun. So hopefully that kind of helps support some people out there.
Yes, April, I love that. Peg just said the secret sauce, the connection, we said, the connection. Yes, the connection. That's so important. So with you, I know that, and again, I don't know, maybe you came out of the womb with all of this great information because you're amazing. Let me just say that. But when was it that you discovered, when you said, oh my gosh, I need to write this story? What were your struggles? Because I'm currently coaching a gal that has had some abuse, and she's wanting to write her story, and she is at a complete loss. Now, I really appreciate everything that you just said, because I realize that I am on the right track. Because I told her, I said, just, open up a Google Docs, hit the microphone, and then just go and just start telling your story like you're telling it to me. I said, because if you start typing, if you're like me, I start to want to edit. As I'm typing, I'm like, oh, did I spell that right? Or, oh, should I say that different? And I lose my flow because I get caught up in always thinking, well, when somebody reads this, so I told her, I said, just tell your story like no one is ever going to read it. Just dump it out there. And then let's go back and revisit it. So that's her assignment, is to just dump her story out there. So I feel good that I'm on the right path. So coaching her the correct way. But when, what were your struggles? When did you finally say, I need to write this story? And how hard was it for you to write your abuse story?
So there were sections and pieces of it that were challenging. And so sometimes I would be able to kind of gear up a little bit better, but really the point about it came, like I said, I had been out for about 12 years, and I had been remarried. I had 4 more children. So I was a exploding house of 9 children, all under the same roof, all at the same time, which was the perfect time to start writing the story. It's just when it was, because the wisdom was there. The feelings, the emotions were all right there. And there were times where I know I would be sad or frustrated, and I remembered that section or that event that happened. And so I would just channel my emotions through what I was feeling at the time or what have you, and I would put it there. And again, it was great pieces. Then I could move over into this next part. I didn't intentionally start out with a large plan. Now, let me be very careful when I say this, but I did have an incredible structure of an outline. Okay. So outlining can be planning. It can be vice versa. I don't recommend flying by the seat of your pants writing if you're ready to write your book. Now, fly by the seat of your pants writing to just start activating the brain. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, once you get a lot of that stuff out there, you'll start to see a pathway. You'll start to see some patterns. And I can't tell you enough. I have a 22-point outline that is crucial, because it just doesn't talk about the story pieces. It talks about, what the heck does my readers want? Well, before I even really delve into things, I need to find out, do I have an audience for this? What's going to be happening here? Because we have incredible stories. We have to craft it to the right people to want to read it. Because there's nothing worse than having an incredible lemonade stand, setting it up on a dead end road, and wondering why no one's coming for the goods. Well, did you do your homework prior to and figure out, well, what other books are out there like this? What other stories are there? And that's not to say, oh, well, there was 116 stories that I saw on Amazon, never mind. No. It is to look at that and go, oh, so maybe that's some of my competition. What do they have? Okay. Ooh, I've got this. They don't have that. Ooh. And you have to really look at it as what am I going to bring to the table that's going to knock these books down like a bunch of dominoes. And you get into these modes and thinking because you always have a choice. Everyone is born with a negative voice in their head, a critic, or whatever you want to call it. I call it my shame shadow. And everyone has that light, the positivity, your Super Sally, whatever it is that you call it. You got both. And there is no magic here. You make the choice of who you're going to listen to. And there are writing days where, Super Sally is like, the light is on, and there's days where shame the shadow is like, yeah, I'm gonna go get some ice cream, never mind. And that's okay. Remember, it's a day. It was an hour. It's not your lifetime. Drop whatever this weird perfection thing is. Just kick it to the curb, put on the steel boots and give it a boot, whatever. You just need to get started. So again, I apologize for the long-windedness
No,
of
this is
that.
perfect.
That is how I started. I channeled what I was thinking at the time and put it in and put it down. Again, I had already had some things, the victim story was already in many pieces. And so gathering that together, I had enough distance, right? This is 12 years after. I had distance. I have women who've been out of abuse. We help a whole bunch of people get out. 3 months later, like, I'm ready to tell my story. And I'm like, let's go have a sit down. Let's talk for a second. Because the story you want to just reach out there is a mix between this victim and this survival. And your readers aren't ready for that, because that's the horror of things. Now, you can bring horror in. It happens. But if you don't have a pathway to hope, you've just ruined your readers. They're not going to read anything else. They're not going to get past chapter 3. They're done. And then you're going to feel even worse about everything. So you just get started and you get these pieces and you get some distance, because it's not that you eliminate the events, but now you know how to craft them in a way that the reader didn't have to have it all over themselves, right? But they could feel it. And that's all they need. You want to get them close to that cliff, but don't kick them off without the parachute. You want to get them involved. And any good novel does that right off the bat, right? You're sucked in, you're scared to death. How many of you read a book and somebody comes marching in the room because they just got to change their Welletons, and you're like, because you were so involved in the book and you're right there and you thought it was mass murder coming in. No. How did he craft the story to make you feel that fear? Yeah, he had experience or interviewed people or whatever, he captured it. So when you're in that and you get the distance, then you know how you can pull out the pieces without killing off your readers. So lots of great things there. And that's how I knew I was ready, because I could visit and I could step out. I could visit in, I could step out. I could visit it, I could step out. And I wasn't a mess afterwards. There was a few messy hours, but I wasn't like, I can't feed my children for the next 6 months. I'm so depressed. No. And if you're still there, you might not be ready for the actual book, but you are ready to express and write. Don't ever think, oh, well, that Miss April, she said I needed another 16 years, so I got to wait. No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying, whatever your time frame is on your distance, you'll know the distance. You'll know where you can step in and you can step out, in and out, like a great director, right? Anyway, there you go.
Great stuff, April. This is so good. This is so good. Now, how did you, or how do you make time for your writing? How do you do this with all those kids?
All those kids and full-time teaching? This is what I do. Mornings are my sacred time. Now, my mornings are crazy. I wake up at 3:28 every morning, and that's just the time frame the clock goes off, 3:28. And I have from 3:28 till 6:06. Yes, because I remember a professor saying, always do weird times. I'm like, all right, I like that. So there's my weird times, 3:28 to 6:06. That is well over deep 3 hours to just be in my place and do. And I will say, even with 9 kids, no one's up between that 3 to 6. Okay. It works out really well. You just have to find your time, and do not go with any time frame where you know interruptions are going to happen. Afternoon is probably the worst if you have small kids and family. Their
Mhm.
lives are, this is a time when everyone's sleeping. And it's just, this is my ultimate me time. I'm like over 3 hours of my own me time. Can you guys imagine? Every single day? It's like, woo! And, then it's kind of a quick fast to get everybody, out the door into the bus, but that's okay. This piece is mine. And that's what I do. And then I take a day off, Sabbath day, take a day off, do that day of rest, because you need to just take that break back. So that's when the writing, that's when editing, that's when a lot of things happen. It's not when client calls happen. I don't expect my clients to get up at the 3:28 a.m. No, we do that stuff in the afternoon. That's fine. But that's my time that I found. So if anyone on the chat's like, well, and they start shooting off excuses, you're a teacher, right? What'd you do when your students gave excuses? What'd you do? Oh, okay. Oh, that's fine. No, don't allow the excuses, because you'll just continue in the pathway that you're headed and wonder why you've never gotten anything written. I know it's like the secret is like, oh wait, I have to make a choice and have to act. Yeah, there's your magic. Spoiler alert, that's it. So find it, take action, and go. That's it. I'm telling you, the magic really is there. I'm sorry it didn't sound so magical. Maybe I'll say Wingardium Leviosa before I say it, but that's it. Like, that's the magic. So yeah.
So what happens at 3:28 if you got to bed a little bit later than normal and you're tired and you're like, oh, how do you motivate yourself to say, this is my time?
It is just so my time that is the motivation. Yeah, I just never miss it.
But did it take you a little bit to get into that groove when you first decided to do the 3:28?
Nope. Once I decided, I took the action, because I didn't allow myself, because if you allow yourself your back door, you just stay right there. I'm sorry, you just will. That's humanity, it's human nature. And so why give myself that thing? No, this is for me right here, and we're in. So again, I know that's kind of weird. Maybe my maiden name is Tribe. Yes, it's an actual real maiden name. A lot of people are like, oh, that's a good idea to say Tribe. I'm like, no, that's my maiden name. Anyway, it's this Tribe drive that we just have, and blessings of it, great, whatever. I'm super thrilled with it. And I just made the choice to take the action, and don't allow no, I just don't allow it.
Peg says writing at seemingly weird or the wee morning hour. She said she thought it was just her.
Yay, so, Peg. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so good for you, Peg. Yes, yep. I love that. I love that. And so then you went forward and you wrote a second book. Your first book is about the abuse. And then what is your second book about?
Okay, so this was really an interesting battle between my first editor. Anyone done battle with editors before? Okay.
Yes.
And I have a lot of writers who do battle with me. And I want to make sure that I push. I'm a tough coach. I push right back. And the concept is this. When I started writing the book, a lot of the people who gave me advice and whatever was like, yeah, sure, great, share the story, and then tell us your steps of how you overcame. And I'm like, oh, okay. Nope, that's the second book. Nope. And everyone was, you're gonna miss out, you're gonna miss out, you're gonna miss out. And I'll tell you this, God gave you your guts, so go with them. My gut was, they need to read the story. They don't need to be interrupted with, and this was the lesson that I learned. Now, I'm not trying to dog down anyone's books that have that. This was my own personal thing, is I need to bring these people on the terror ride without, at the end of the chapter, so how did you feel about that? Tell me some. No, I needed them to be like a novel. I needed them to go, no way. I needed them to have that experience rolling through this so that they could take the snapshot and put it down and go, I get it. Okay, I think I get it. Because if you're telling me that 1 in 4 women suffer in abuse, how is that possible? That number is 25% of humanity suffers in this. What in the heck's going on? I'm like, well, let me tell you, this is the story. And I needed to share that. Now, all of the lessons learned and how we overcame, I knew that was book number 2. So that one spilled out within 2 months. I didn't have to do a lot of marinating on that one. That one was pretty clear. The story needed crafting so they could see. And then as they go to the second story, which is called Out of Darkness, the whole concept is like, I see, you're in darkness, pinpoint led you out. Oh, gotcha. Now, how did you, I wanted the reader, my audience, to realize book 2 will tell you all your whys. It's kind of like a great movie, right? Afterwards, what do you want to do? You want to talk to the director? How'd they make that? Oh my gosh, how'd they do that shot? Well, they're not going to tell you right in the middle of the thing, like when Spider-Man's swinging through, this is how we did it. We did a stringy and we went like that. No, it's going to interrupt the whole thing. You want the after, the outtakes, all that, which is book 2. So that's how it worked out for me. So, yep.
This has been wonderful stuff. Yes. Sandy, do you have any comments or questions at this point?
No, I really like this, because if there's something a lot of folks, and I don't know if it's all in the writer's journey for everybody, but there's a memoir in everyone. And there is, whatever the topic for them, it follows that. And that hero's journey, that quest, man, there's Lord of the Rings, and then there's my life in this personal predicament. And wow, they just, geez, very, very good.
Yeah, it melds right in, because we are, with your, with permission there, we have the Frodo that needs the story. And you will face your own orcs. And it doesn't matter if the orc was, the executive at your business who never allowed you guys to have X amount of dollars so that you could finally complete your project. It doesn't matter what the fear was. It is fearful for you. Well, then express it, put it in there. I love what you said. The memoir is within all of us. And, if you have an audience that needs that, great, and put it together and share, because in the end, why do we keep telling everybody, or asking everybody when they come home from work, what happened today?
Yeah.
You're waiting for the orc story. You're waiting for the wizard that came down, right? Because you know the characters that so-and-so works with. And you bet that, the water cooler was really buzzing today because such and such happened. And tell me more, right? And so you want that. And I mean, who doesn't like to add a little bit of drama into things, right? It connects us all together. Just does. It's pretty cool.
April, you talked about your audience early on. As you were writing your first book, did you have your audience in mind, or were you just getting the story out there, and then later, as the book started to take shape, you then crafted it? And I guess my real question is, how far into your writing did you have clarity on who was your audience?
So it is a fair question, and I would love to say, I know my audience right up front. No, I didn't. I knew that the story needed to be shared. And of course, I don't know if anyone else has the J.K. Rowling fantasy rolling in their head, like it'll just happen. And Scholastic will overbid, and it's great. It can happen. I'm not going to doubt it. My challenge was, I didn't necessarily want the people who had been in abuse to read my book, because they've lived it. They know it. I have to cough just a second. Excuse me. Okay. They've already lived there and been there. What I needed was what I call the supporters. My supporters needed to know the story. The people that are the best friends, the people that are the coworkers, the people that know so-and-so. And every time she's always late for the meeting, or she always has her sunglasses on, or whatever. And they're like, I know something's going on. I've seen Sleeping with the Enemy. I'm pretty sure this is happening, right? You know, they have this concept. So I wrote it for them because I needed them to understand what happens behind the closed doors. They needed to realize, like, oh my gosh, that's why she got all ready to leave and then she didn't go. It wasn't that, oh my gosh, I actually thought she was mad at me. And then I got mad at her because she didn't leave. Oh, I'm so embarrassed now. She didn't leave because I couldn't see the gun that was behind her back. Oh, I didn't know that. Right. So you have this whole concept here. That's who started to craft into the story. I had publishers, I had editors were like, yeah, probably not going to read it. And I'm like, well, I think they will. It's going to take my marketing technique to know
Mhm.
how to reach the right people. And it is the supporters, it's those friends, it's the parents.
It's
And
the
is that
teachers.
it's
Mhm.
teacher. Those are, you know, it's a tough category because I just covered parents and teachers, you know, and so in the little avatar that's all neat and pretty with a tight bow. No, this experience is just happening through life. So I have a way now to approach teachers. I have a way now to approach parents. I have a way now to approach coworkers. So in essence, I now target 3 avatars out there depending on the message. So like I shared a little bit earlier, she was always late to the meeting. She's always wearing sunglasses. There's my worker drive. Here's the one that she never comes to the family function, or at the last minute, she's always sick. Why is so and so always sick? There's my family and parent function on things. Right. So you have to kind of see where it is that you can target. Now, I also say that, let's go back to the J.K. Rowling thing, right? The phenomenon that happened there was that it went right for children and for adults. There hasn't been a novel that has connected parents and adults within the same household ever, yet, right? We don't know what the future is going to happen, but at that point, hers
Mhm.
was this incredible bridge that people were like, whoa, why? It had the depth and wisdom of her experience that fed right into the adults with the magic and the story and the adventure that pulled the kids right in.
Mhm.
Now, if you ask kids who read it as 9, 10-year-olds and they re-listen or reread it when they're in college, their experience is so the depth, right? That makes a timeless story because for them, they had enough of the fear and the gathering, but the adventure was there. And
Yeah.
the parents are like, oh my gosh, I'm Sirius Black. Oh my, that's exactly who I am. And we have a different feeling with these characters. And they're characters. No one's real. I'm pretty sure my stick out that was made out of elderwood that I hoped a feather was in didn't actually work ever. But I was really hoping, right? It
Yeah.
still didn't work, but I am in, right? And it's not an overdone and it's not an over commercialized thing. There is truth that harmonizes and connects these pieces together. So, good story does that. She peeled out of experience. She gave herself time. Took her 13 years, another whatever many rejections. So, it it's worth the storytelling because I don't know who else is out there. Are you all waiting for another good story? I'm really waiting for a really good story. I'm so tired of what's kind of out there. And I hope people are marinating. And if it came from your real life and you put it in with some characters, I'm in. I want to see more.
Mhm.
We just stumbled upon one that had been written a while ago. I won't say a long time ago, but like, how do you call it? Like in the 2008s. I can't say the 20s, right? It's so weird. Anyway, like Andrew Peterson, the Wing Feather Saga. Finally, I have another thing that I can share with my kids. And there's depth to character there that I can enjoy. And yet they have the adventure and they're going off. And I'm like, oh, good. Finally, got some more stories here. We need story, and y'all have it out there. So don't quit. Keep it coming. Become that next J.K. Rowling, ... Yet. Just do it. Start. Precious your time. Get it out there. We would We wouldn't have these amazing stories without it. So keep going, man.
April, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Tell the listeners how you can help them. We have a bunch of authors and wannabe authors in the audience. This is going to be projected out on a podcast, and it's picked up by about 8 different channels. And then also for those folks that are listening, if you want to come back for a replay, go to kathybinner.com, scroll down to the Ohio Writers Guild, and you'll see the free replays of all of the authors that we've interviewed. And you can find our replay there with us talking to April. So April, tell us, how can you help those folks if they're kind of stuck in whatever area they're stuck in? How can you help?
Well, I would give a few suggestions. I would say go back to your outline. Where are you? If you're writing anything with fiction, you definitely need to develop your characters, your world, your story. Take the time to do that. Don't stinch on it. Get them in. Talk about it. Go to kids. Ask them. They will tell you straight up what the heck's going on. If you are writing a memoir, give yourself some time, some space, and see if you can visit those doors and be like, I'm okay. If you are writing a children's book, what are you connecting with? Who are you connecting with? What do you want? Is there, a lesson? Is there like an Aesop's fable that you are trying to tell? What is it that you're connecting with? And if you are anything within the business world, y'all, if you don't put story in there, I don't care. It's going to be boring. They're not going to get through it. You're just another collector on the shelf. You got to bring in the story, whether that means you grab it from other people and do the interviewing. Maybe you feel like your story is just not worth it. Start there and you'll start to see, my story is actually so much better than that. You'll see it. You will see it there. But just get those pieces out there and starting. If you have a religious book, here's the thing. I love myself a good preacher. But think about the master teacher. He didn't preach. He told stories. So kind of covered a big group right there because we've touched bases with so many. But think about those pieces. And if you're running up to like, whoopsie, that's okay. Whoopsies are definitely, they're appropriate. Don't quit because I need good story. Please don't quit. I need good story. I need to be fed. I'm really a stickler when it comes to story. If I'm not in a few pages, I gently put it back like, sorry. Yeah. I'm like the sampler at Costco. I'm like, nope, thanks. Good to try that out. Didn't want to waste my money on that. So yeah, and I'm stingy that way, I have to say, or snobby. I don't know, whatever the word is. I want something to fill me. I want to be scared to my wits end and then know all is safe. Ooh, like I got to feel it. So yeah.
April, I love that. Please type in the chat, April, there for everyone. Please type in there. And again, since you're not a co-host, it may come up just for panelists. And if so, then I'll copy and paste it in for everyone. But put in there how folks can connect with you. And for those of you that are still on the call with us, a couple folks had to jump off, but those that are still there with us, April is a writing coach. She's a developmental editor. She is a ghostwriter. She is an editor. She is a podcaster, and she is a keynote speaker. So keep her contact information so that you know how to reach out to April. And okay, Peg put her mission in there. Let's see. There we go. April is in there. AprilTribeGiauque.com, or you can connect with her at April@apriltribe.com. So make sure that you take a screen print of that. In the replay, I will also put her connect information in the description of the replay. So if you don't have a way to write it down or screen print it, just go to kathybinner.com and go to the replay. I'll have that uploaded probably by tomorrow sometime. I may not get it up there tonight, but I'll have it by tomorrow sometime. Peg made a note. She said her mission is to help widows. It revolves around the acronym WIDOW. With integrity, develops ongoing wisdom. I don't know how to go about monetizing it, blog, book, or best approach. Please, you can get in touch with April to get more information about how to do that. Or you can connect with me under the Build a Better Business, and I can also help you with that. So either one of us can help you monetize how to do that. So thank you for the question. I'm going to go back up and look at April's. Yeah, April's was just to the hosted panelists. So let me copy that down to everyone so that everyone can see that. And I'll come back up here for her email and move that down to everyone as well. So that way everyone can see how to get in touch with April. So again, April, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I could just talk to you forever. I love talking with you. I love chatting with you. I love following you on Facebook. And just so you know, I'm a quiet stalker. I watch everything that you do. Just so you know.
It's not creepy at all.
Yeah, so I just love everything about April, and so I appreciate so much you being on the Ohio Writers Guild with us this evening. And I am going to send you all of the links once everything gets uploaded. And please feel free to use all of those links however you wish in any of your marketing material. If we can help, we'd love to help promote you as well. So thank you so much.
Awesome,
So, and again, Sandy, thank you for being on as my co-host, my co-mod. This has been a lot of fun. Peg said that it was excellent, and thank you so much, Peg. And thank you for everyone that's still on with us. We've got Peg, we've got Perry, Phoenix, Robert. Thank you so much for being. We had several folks. We were up to maybe about 10, and several had to jump off when it got close to 7. Some of them had other calls to get onto, other Zoom calls. And I know it's a busy time with the holidays, and we even debated about staying on our schedule with the holidays, but I'm glad we did, because we would not have missed April for the world. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Okay, well, everyone, happy holidays, and please come back and see us again. We're going to be back on board with more guests in January. KathyBenner.com, scroll down to the Ohio Writers Guild, and we'll see everyone soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.